Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of my Dribbble projects. Starting all the way from 2013, when I first got a Dribbble invite, to today, 2018, what are the different types of projects I did? What was the mix of freelance, full-time jobs, side projects, and more? Where did I get these projects from? So I'll take you through each of these projects and talk about a little backstory. And the reason I'm doing this is a lot of you are getting started with design. So in a few months or so, once your design skills are good and you feel like you're ready to get started freelancing, you might have to think about where do I get my projects from and what kind of projects can I be doing at my skill level. So I'm going to start from the very beginning when I had just started learning design. So my skill level wasn't very great. And then from there, how did my projects change as I started learning? This was my first shot on Dribbble. And as you can see, this is a thank you shot. So if you don't know already, Dribbble is an invite-only community for designers where you can share your work. If you're lucky, get some feedback, but mostly build a following and also get freelance projects. Clients can find your profile on Dribbble and they can send you work inquiries. This was my first shot ever. And this was on August 5th, 2013. I think I started learning design somewhere end of 2012. So this was maybe a good 6 months after that. So this was an app, I don't remember what it was called, but it was a fitness app. And from the visual style, you can probably tell that this was pre-iOS 7. This was when iOS apps looked skeuomorphic, where all elements looked like they were actually physical elements. So in this, there was a lot of playing with shadows, effects, trying out things like brushed metal and just different sort of textures. And that was a very different time compared to now where all interfaces are flat and you typically don't experiment with that level of dimension. This I ended up getting through Upwork. Odesk.com is what it was called at the time. I think maybe I got about $200 or something like that for this. So this was very early on. I was just trying to do whatever I can get and do it for whatever price. So this one was a screen for a startup called Campus Casa. How I got this project was actually through Fiverr. So on Fiverr, I met this guy Max. And he wanted me to do a logo. I think he already had a logo, but he wanted me to make edits to the file and change a few colors and things like that. So I got paid $5 and that was sort of the start of our relationship. So post that, we added each other on Skype, we would talk. And for Campus Casa, I did some of their pitch decks for raising money. I did some of their landing pages. I did, I think, part of their apps. I'm not too sure about it. And this was a on and off project for quite a few months. This was, I think, the landing page for businesses, and this was on August 27, 2013. Limbed. Now, this was one of the side projects we did in college. So me, Varun, Karthik, we were doing a lot of freelance projects solo, and we wanted to just put our design and development skills together and just come up with an idea. So the idea with Limbed was, usually when you share a file, you just give an open access to it. So we thought about what if, while sharing a file, you could generate these sort of tickets. So when sharing, you're like, okay, this file only has 5 tickets, which means I can only send it out to 5 people. And once they download it, it's gone forever. So it was sort of like Snapchat for the desktop, where you could actually send files. So this is in October 2013. And you can already see that while a lot of it is still a little skeuomorphic, you have this ticket coming out of this slot like that. The aesthetic is moving towards flat design. These were trends at the time. So long shadows, for example, was a very popular trend. See, I've done that with the logo here as well. Scratch App was also a side project that Varun, Karthik and I did together. And the idea was it was a virtual space, so like a virtual wall where you could put up sticky notes. And each of these you could add reminders, to-do lists and things like that. I'm sure we didn't renew the domain, so scratchapp.in doesn't exist anymore. But we did launch this. We had about, I would say maybe 100 users. We just sort of spread the link around and people started using it. So maybe it ran for a year or two and then we shut that down. This was a post that I did for Dribbble. Since Dribbble is an invite-only community, every once in a while, the people who are already in get invites that they can give out to other people and invite them. Typically in a year, I think back then you would get maybe 2 or 3 invites. These are some more screenshots from Limbed. This is a landing page that explained the concept of it. The app pretty much looked like this. This by itself doesn't look that great either, but I'm sure the actual version looked even worse. We just put together a basic front end. Fourth Nerd was a site that I did for Marius. Marius is based in Norway. And I think he found me through Upwork on Odesk. Maybe I applied to his job or maybe he saw my profile. It was an aggregator for sports news from different Norwegian sports websites. So I think this was a site that he already ran, but it had a very basic design. and he wanted to upgrade it. He wanted to make it look more modern. And I think we did an app as well as a website for this. Maybe I did a basic logo for it. Android Wear's weather card. So I think this was probably around the time when Android Wear first came out. I think it was the first smartwatch back then. And this was just a way to experiment what cards on the watch would look like. Trainer Haiku bag. I wasn't really good at illustrations. I would say even now I come a total noob when it comes to using the pen tool. But this was a sort of a basic illustration I put together probably in Photoshop just for Dribbble. So Bartley was an open source project started by Prasoon in Bangalore. And I ended up coming across this maybe on LinkedIn or something like that. And I said, hey, like I'm in Bangalore, let's meet up and I'll try to contribute something. So for this, we ended up doing the landing page. I helped them with some of the app designs, marketing material, Play Store screenshots and things like that. This was actually interesting because this led me to another project with Prasoon, and I ended up spending about 6 months building it with him. Vitamin CV, really cool name. I wish we'd actually done something with this, but it was a hackathon project. We did this for a hackathon at Microsoft Ventures in Bangalore. I think I was interning there at the time. So I interned there for maybe about 2 months. I worked on a lot of the internal tools and things like that. But this was like a separate thing. This was a hackathon. We ended up doing a resume generator. So you put in some of your basic information. I think we had a connect with LinkedIn. And then this would generate a nice looking resume for you that you could share with just a URL. And I think you could download this as a QR code that anybody can scan and they can open it and things like that. We did buy a domain. So this is one of the things that I do with my side projects with hackathons. I always end up buying domains and coming up with a really good name for the project. Even if I know it's not going to go anywhere, but I like having that assurance in my head, like maybe this will go somewhere, maybe we'll do something with it. So we did buy vitamincv.com. I don't think it's available anymore. This was the landing page for Bartley. So Bartley was an app to barter books, to exchange books with people. So what you would do is you would come onto the app and you would say, these are the books that I have. This is what I'm looking for. You could meet somebody, you could chat with them, and you could meet up in real life and exchange books. That was the basic idea. Free Google Inbox PSD. Google Inbox had just come out. I think I gave some Dribbble invites as well along with this. So Drip was an app for, I think, a London-based entrepreneur. And he was launching this concept where you could just buy a single coffee membership. And you could use this subscription to get coffee at any place in the city. I think I ended up meeting him through Odesk work, and this was probably like a 2-month project. I think in the $500 to $600 range. Space keyboard. This was around the time when iOS came out with the ability to make custom keyboards. I don't think I actually, no, for sure, I didn't actually build this. This is something I did for Dribbble. This was just like a watch illustration that I made. This was an icon for Airtel. Back then I had this dongle that I would use for internet, and I just didn't like the ugly looking icon that they had. So I made my own thing and then I replaced it. And this is what it sort of looked like in the dock. This was just a freebie, a Nexus wireframe PSD. Drive Play, this was I think a concept that we did for Sequoia's hackathon. I'm not really sure. But the idea was, as you're driving around, you usually want to listen to music, but in a lean back experience. So this was a way for you to pick up music as you're driving. So on a map, and as you go, you just collect these points, keep collecting this playlist that keeps playing as you're driving. This was on April 1st. You know what the scene is on April 1st. Every tech company comes out with like a fake product or something like that. I recreated my portfolio. I put a bunch of fake products there. And the idea was that I do only fake products. This is my expertise. This was the site. You can check this out. So Airbnb, sharing economy for toilets, I'm drunk by Uber, Meerkat, offline selfies by Snapchat. You switch off your phone and you can see what you look like. Clash of Clans for 3310. This was like a mock-up of like a concept for WhatsApp. If you remember back then, WhatsApp didn't really have calls. It was just a screen which had chat. I was trying to figure out if WhatsApp had to add calls to it, what are the different ways it would do it? Would it use iconography? Would it use text? Because I'm assuming with WhatsApp, the people who use it might not really know English. They might be using it in different languages. So would it make sense for them to use text labels or icon labels or both? These were the explorations around that. So Yellow was Prasoon's startup. So I met Prasoon through Bartley. I think this was the last semester of college, and this was my final year project. We ended up doing the landing page and the whole app. So the whole discovery flow, onboarding, how do you chat, how do you communicate. So I was the sole designer on this. So just me, 2 developers, and Prasoon. Kale was a hackathon project at housing.com. So I think we had some sort of internal hackathon where you could just come up with anything. So this project was a way to find people to play sports with. Parallax Scroll. It was around the time when I also created my first book/online course, which was the designer's guide to prototyping motion in mobile apps. And this was a full principal course. I think it was like $75 or something like that. I ended up selling, I think under 100. And even today, every once in a while, somebody will buy this because I think my Medium article is one of the top results for Principal app. Every once in a while, I'll make about $50 or $100 through passive income through this course. At Housing.com, the team I was a part of was Housing Labs, and we would come up with moonshot concepts. We would come up with new ideas for apps, as well as new features within the existing apps. We experimented a lot with prototyping tools. Principal is what we ended up using after a lot of experimentation. A lot of these concepts then are me just playing around in Principal and creating concepts. Bucky, in fact, was a project that I did, a side project, my friend Imran, and it was a chatbot to manage your finances. So it was an Android app. It would read your SMSs, and then in an intuitive way, it would help you understand where you're spending your money and give you updates about what your trends look like. So we actually built this. We had it on our own phones. We played with beta. We didn't really end up launching this. It was taking too much time. These were just a few explorations in Principal. This was a design magazine. I don't think it was real. This was a housing blog. This was an icon illustration also done in Principal. This was a city selection. I think this was part of the actual iOS Android apps. I'm not sure if it's still like that right now, but Aftershock VR, this was a project that Varun was working on. This was a basic landing page to book slots for VR experiences. These were a few screens for Listen. Listen was my startup. We ran this for about a year. It was an app to listen to music with friends in a chat room, so like synced sessions. And we ended up doing really well with this. We had a great product hunt launch. We ended up getting featured on a lot of sites, including TechCrunch, Wired, Your Story, and a bunch of those. This is what it was. These few shots are some interactions from within. So this was the main chat room. You had chat at the bottom and then you had album artwork on top. This was your library, so it would pull music from your Spotify and your SoundCloud. When you received a song from somebody that you liked, you could actually save it to your own playlist, and you could forward this song to other friends as well. This is one of the things that I worked on at Unacademy. We do have a Dribbble page, but I haven't uploaded a lot to it. Maybe I should. We're just moving so fast that we just jump from one to the other, and I haven't really had time to actually compose a shot and do something good. And now coming to my final shot, the latest so far. This is the cover for Pajama Profit. Now, Pajama Profit is a book that I wrote with Varun. This is about the experiences we had freelancing in college. So a lot of the projects that you see, Pajama Profit is sort of the meta story of what was happening at the time. How are we getting these projects and what was the learning experience like? So the book is on Amazon. You can go check that out. We ended up getting this published by Bloomsbury. So this was like our first physical book that we worked on. It's a guide for anybody who wants to get started in freelancing, whether you're in college or you have a job already. How do you pick up some skills? How do you get really good at it? And how do you start applying for your first jobs? That's the first half of the book. And then the second half of the book is how do you build a personal brand? How do you do more sales tactics? Like how do you send out cold emails? Where do you find leads? And a lot of different things that you need to consider if you want to become a freelancer. So that's all for today's video. I hope you found that interesting. If you want to go dive deep into some of these projects, you can go to my Dribbble. I'll leave the link in the description. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.